and welcome to my new Let's Play of EarthBound Beginnings. Now this isn't the EarthBound that everyone talks about, this is actually the one that time kind of forgot. I want to go in order. By the end of this year, I don't think this is going to happen, by the way. Full disclosure, this is not happening, I can tell you already. I'm hoping that I eventually get to Mother 3. Probably beginning next year, but sooner or later I want to play through EarthBound. Well, actually Mother 3. By like this time next year, essentially. I've never played Mother 3, so this is just basically kind of a refresher for— oh, that's wrong. A refresher for me before I like going through all the series and then sort of experiencing it like that. So I'm going with all the defaults. So I'm not personally a fan of prime ribs, but that's apparently what Nintendo likes, and that is our character, Nintendo. Where's R? So yeah, there's a couple of other characters that join the party, but they don't actually join. They're not like nameable, so that's good to keep in mind. So that's it. That's our party. That's our favorite food. I'm not sure why, but this is actually the only game that doesn't have a default option. In the early 1900s, a dark shadow covered a small country town in rural America. At that time, a young married couple vanished mysteriously from their home. The man's name was George. The woman's name was Maria. 2 years later, as suddenly as he left, George returned. He never told anyone where he had been or what he had done. But he began an odd study all by himself. As for Maria, his wife, she never returned. "80 years have passed since then." So we jump straight into the game, no wasting time. Man, this feels laggy. Like, I pushed the button like a full, like, okay, I'm gonna mash it. Like, that's a lot of delay. Which will probably only be compounded by capturing the game. Hopefully it's not too bad, but we're in our first battle. This is actually a useless fight, so we're gonna just hit auto. That guy did 1 damage. Intended's attack. Lamp suffered damage of 3. Lamp is really fast, apparently. That's not good. Damage 4. Lamp doesn't move anymore. You win! Well, that's not ominous at all. The giant screen shaking. We got a bunch of enemies, and that's apparently our sister. So let's go save our sister. But yeah, we're just gonna auto our way through this. Can I look, like, is there a way to auto speed through text? Cause that would be appreciated right about now, other than just button mashing. Let us see what we can see in this game. Apparently, this game was actually translated, by the way. That's something that's often forgotten. Oh my, brother, our house is falling apart. Boo-hoo! It's translated in, I think, like 89, but the Super Nintendo was actually in development, so Nintendo actually shelved the game, even though the translation was actually finished. As a result, years later, they finally released it. Help me! Now, to be fair, the translation is a 1980s, early 90s kind of translation, aka it's not very good. They cut some things, they kind of renamed some stuff, yeah, it's a typical kind of early 90s gaming kind of localization where they're trying to be very clean cut, essentially. So when this version came out, this is actually the original version they translated years ago. There's actually a fan translation online that's probably more up to date. I think it's for the GBA version. By the way, there's a GBA version. It was released with Mother 2, also known as EarthBound. Next level! Fight has increased by 3, speed has increased by 3, wisdom has increased by 2. Aww, broke the pattern. Strength has increased by 3. See, wisdom was only... Oh, and wisdom and force are outliers. 11! Jeez. PP has increased by 3. PP is for, like, magic. The phenomenon has stopped, for the moment. I was scared to death. Oh wow, check out what's hidden inside the doll. Check was capitalized because we have a check command. An old music box. As the music box was wound up, a melody began to play. Nintendo remembered the tune. So if you played EarthBound, and frankly you have a higher chance of playing EarthBound than this game, you'll probably recognize that. That kind of style, who you're talking to. There's not just a universal button to do everything. I thought that was a present, but it's not. What do you have to say? Nintendo, are you alright? Egad, what's happening to our house? I wish your dad were here now. Maybe... Telephone! Nintendo, please get it. That's just a slightly clunky translation. This is your dad? Well, it seems like a poltergeist. I'm not exactly sure how to, but your great-grandfather cited PSI. You might find something in the basement to help. But I left the basement key someplace. Can't remember exactly where. Anyhow, son, you are my only hope. Time for you to go on a little adventure. Explore the potential of your powers. Powers not to be taken lightly. Nintendo, go for it. Now remember to come back and check on your family. I mean... Oh, phone me and I will save your progress. Call me whenever you want. Slam. Any hints? Are you alright? Oh. Wish your dad were here now. Well, that doesn't help us at all. Wow, this is sticky. This is not the most easy to play game. No problem. What do you have to say? Can converse with animals. Tell you a secret, why don't you check me out? Bow wow. That's a dog? Why is he walking on 2 legs? There, on the dog's collar was the basement key. Nintendo got basement key, all one word, because NES issues. I am Minnie. What can I do for you? So she will store items for us. Which brings up the point that our item limit is very small. So keep that in mind at all times, because you kind of want to have room in your minis. I'm what? Mimi? Mimi? I don't know. But that's interesting. Mimi, Mini, and Nintendo. I feel like there's an outlier somewhere in this. So I'm like hurting. How do I heal? Door's locked. So this is one of those games where you have to manually use items, which is not fun. Open the present. There was GGF's diary. Nintendo got GGF's diary. Nintendo opened the present. There was plastic bat. Okay, so we can go in here and equip the plastic. Wait, how do we equip anything? How do we equip plastic bat? Use? Yeah, equip that. And there's actually monsters in the basement. Now, actually, this gets into a problem I have with the game. Already, I know we're in episode 1, but I have a problem with this. This game is hard. This game is really hard. Like, really super brutally unforgivingly hard. So, you might not want to rush ahead at this point. Because you can die really easily. You can die really easily in this. I'm kind of wanting to demonstrate, but I'm not sure if I should. Son of mine, you're braver than I thought. Can't let you go on a journey so famished. I'll cook primary. Okay, so that's why you pick your favorite food. This is basically a free inn of sorts. That's all you eat, prime rib. So one thing you should do, because this game is really hard, is not play this version, if I am to be completely honest. Yeah, this is not the best version, because on the Game Boy Advance fan translation, and yes, I am recommending a fan translation, oh, you actually have a run button. That's innovative. And I'm not saying that facetiously. This is actually innovative, because like the original Final Fantasies didn't actually have this. So this is actually, I'm saying this not ironically, this is innovative, having a run button. What was I saying? The Game Boy Advance fan translation added an item that actually, I think, boosts your experience by a fair amount, like a good like double, maybe 0.5 more or something like that. But anyway, that's good, because this game is one of those really old school RPGs where you have to grind levels like there's no tomorrow. So not gonna lie, I'm gonna actually level grind. I know we just started the game, but oh wait, why did I not read the diary yet? Diary was hard to read, but opened the diary was hard to read, but opened up to this page. Password: the one who lost the tail, the forgotten one, the ship that sails. Okay. Interesting. But anyway, this is gonna be a while. I'm gonna do a lot of level grinding here. So yeah, I'm not even sure when we're gonna cut back, like level 4 or 5. I'd recommend getting to like at least level 5, maybe beyond that, to be honest. But yeah, this is just part of the game. If you play this particular EarthBound, you have to actually expect a ton of this, because this is how games were. When you buy a game for like $60-$70, because that's how much games cost back then. Like, I know the N64 games were often $70. And you know what? I've actually decided not to cut, because I'm gonna go on a bit of a story about this. Cartridges were kind of going out of style at some point, like specifically N64 era. So games cost like a good like $70. People are complaining that games are too expensive now. But the problem is, I'm imagining that the internet didn't exist, and that all the places you learned about games were pretty much A, word of mouth, B, magazines, because those were a thing. Nintendo Power was big, like EGM was a thing back then. Was GamePro a magazine, or was that just a website? I don't remember. I'm sounding like such a 2000s kid right now, by not remembering anything about gaming in the old days. So, like, to my mind, when I hear a game like this is really grindy, like Final Fantasy 1, mind you, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because at the time, it makes sense to have games be really grindy, because let's face it, how many games were you gonna get when cartridges were really expensive? How many like different games would you even know about? Like, you have to go by box art. You have to go by completely on box art, word of mouth, or whatever. So it's like, I remember going into a store one time and buying Super Mario. Okay, I was torn between Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga for Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Advance port of Super Mario World. I went with Superstar Saga because I'm sure my childhood self's logic was, that looks cooler. I mean, if I'm gonna be so blunt about this, I'm pretty sure that was my logic. Cause hey, that looks cool, but I knew nothing about either game. Likewise, you know, I didn't get a ton of games growing up. Like, you know, an allowance, it's not that much. You can buy a game like every, like, if you get like 5 to $10 of allowance, you get a game like every like 3 to 6 weeks. That's not that many games. So yeah, it makes sense that games were harder back then. Not to say that it's fun going back to games like this, but it's kind of understandable if that makes any sense. Now, I'm not going to normally show grinding like this. I'm normally going to cut out stuff like this, but again, because I kind of wanted to explain my thought processes when I view early games like this, I figured I might as well just keep talking over this. We got a new power, but it doesn't actually tell us what this power is. It's actually Life Up. Life Up is our first healing spell. By the way, Life Up Alpha. Which implies there's going to be more Life Up spells. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's see, what else? I'm trying to think of another example. It's like for GameCube, most of the games I played were like movie games. Because I was familiar with them. Even though most of them were bad. I didn't play anything like outside the box. I didn't play like Star Fox or Zelda. I basically stayed within a very limited comfort zone. Which actually brings up another point, that EarthBound games are notorious for always bombing. EarthBound, in particular, bombed in the US, because RPGs were just not in at that time if your name wasn't Squaresoft. So Squaresoft had a monopoly, basically. They had Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy VI, or Final Fantasy II and Final Fantasy III, if you grew up in that time. So yeah, you just didn't see RPGs being successful back then. Which is fascinating to me, because RPGs are so popular now, and specifically, you see people constantly on the internet now being like, why is Final Fantasy not turn-based anymore? It's not Final Fantasy if it's not turn-based. Back in the day, everyone was always so super upset that games were like super slow and turn-based, and most RPGs bombed, or weren't released outside of Japan. Case in point. So yeah, it's just very fascinating to me how trends have sort of shifted to be a lot more RPG friendly, and I feel like people are also kind of in the mindset of games difficulty being a good thing again, because I feel like for a while, like 7th gen, I feel like people were like concerned with games being too easy or too hard, but I don't feel like difficulty factors in as much. Personally, I don't care about difficulty. If it's a fun game, I'll play it a bunch anyway, to put it bluntly. Like, I don't mind grinding when it goes this fast, and that's a thing I actually should also say. Bump the pop filter, if you actually heard that. I feel like grinding in EarthBound, well, EarthBound, not so much this game, but EarthBound, actually goes super fast. Like, I feel like characters level up really fast in EarthBound to the point where it doesn't feel as bad. But, yeah, EarthBound came out at a bad time when, you know, Final Fantasy IV had, like, the active time battle system, and that was, like, all the rage. So EarthBound just felt kind of antiquated. Dragon Warrior, later renamed Dragon Quest, ran into the same problem, just being too boring, air quotes, for people, the average like gamer at the time. In hindsight, people really love EarthBound, people really love Dragon Quest, but at the time, those games were generally not very popular. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see how people's perceptions of the EarthBound, well, at least EarthBound, not so much this game, but EarthBound, has actually shifted very positively in the last like few years. I feel like Let's Playing has actually helped EarthBound a lot in terms of public opinion, because popular Let's Plays sort of put the game on the map. Okay, all that tangential stuff aside, I got to level 4, was it? But in any case, I'm gonna actually level up even more, because that's just how this game is. I'm gonna get an early start on level grinding now, so I'll be prepared later on, basically. So I'll be doing that, and I'll see you next time when we actually hit the road. Thank you for watching, and I hope you join me next time for more EarthBound Beginnings.